everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Deanna and you're watching Orchie D. And we're going to do an Orchies in Bloom video today. I've decided to change these videos to mid-month, which I used to do when I started this channel anyway, but I think there's enough YouTubers who post their videos towards the end of the month. So I thought I'd mix things up, give you guys as the viewers a little bit more in the way of blooms to enjoy during the month, and also it just gives me a little bit more flexibility in when I post these videos. But before we begin, I just want to show you the state that Brisbane is in at the moment. I'm not even sure if this comes across really well on camera, but the city is usually there and it is just covered in smoke. The whole of Brisbane is just engulfed in smoke and it is really gross at the moment. We've had a few days of extremely windy, dry weather and it's reached 37 degrees Celsius in the last couple of days, which of course is just a recipe for bushfires. And Brisbane does form a bit of a valley, so it's eerie, it's disgusting, and it just smells a bit smoky at the moment. So I thought I'd show you. But on a more upbeat note, I want to show you guys my shoes, which are actually Jared's shoes, and I just want to show you the hilarity, which is Jared's foot size, a 46. I'm a 36 in European sizing. He's got clown feet. Anyway, they're the only shoes up here at the moment, so that's what I'm wearing. But it's going to be an Orchies in Bloom and spike this video because I don't have a huge amount in bloom, but I have noticed a whole bunch of exciting spikes developing, so I'm going to show them to you. And well, the blooms I have are still mostly phals, but yeah, let's just jump straight into it. So the first bloom that I'm going to show you may not be exciting for everyone else, but it is just really exciting for me because I've been trying to get my Maxillaria tenuifolia to bloom for so long, and finally she has brought out one single perfect beautiful little flower, and it is quite the cute bloom. You can see all the growths coming up on this one, but I've been trying to get this one to bloom for over 2 years now and finally got there. And if you're wondering, yes, she smells exactly like coconuts. Sort of liken it to Malibu rum without like the alcoholic component. It kind of smells like, you know, coconut oil or coconut hand cream, and she is beautiful. I have to put my nose quite close to there to smell it, but it is a strong scent once you're there, so I can imagine with like lots and lots of blooms how amazing that would smell. I don't have much going on with my cats, but this is one cat layer up here. I call her Susie, she's got a very complicated name, but I got her at the beginning of last year and never really got her to rebloom, and grew her under the lights over winter, and I do have a bud developing in there. I actually don't think you guys can see very well on camera, but there is a shadow in there and definitely a bulge, so I'm really excited to see this one rebloom. It's a really cute, beautiful flower. Next up here we've got my Encyclical Tiara prismatocarpa, and just before I go on, I want to excuse the noise in the background. There's some sort of sports carnival going on in the distance, and also please excuse how dry all these orchids are looking at the moment. Like I said, I've been going through a very hot few days, and yesterday pretty much all the orchids were dried out just from low humidity and 37-degree temperatures. She is just starting to open up, but I think you get the idea of how gorgeous these blooms are. This is an incredibly cute flower. A little touch of pink on the lip. The shape is just delightful, but those spots are very, very cute. And you can see the pigment as the buds develop. But I've got the two spikes there and they're only just beginning to open. I can't notice any fragrance or anything on it yet, but I think it's going to be quite the show once it's in full bloom. Also on this shelf, great news guys, I think I posted this on the community page, but we definitely have a spike on my Psychopsis Mendenhall Hildos. The new growths which I've had have always been a lot broader at the base and triangular. You can see that that is surely a spike now. It's very elongated and developing just like a spike. But I only just repotted this one like a week or two ago, and it's just pumped out a bunch of new roots, and it seemed like it really enjoyed the repotting because as soon as I repotted it a few days later I noticed a little nubbin developing there. Next down here, this is an Oncidium that I've grown from seedling. It basically only had like one and a smaller bulb when it started off, but this is Oncidium Heaven Sent Redolence, and you can see the wonderful growth progression of these pseudobulbs, and finally I've got a little spike developing here. Hopefully you can see that. I don't want to play with it too much, but that's exciting. In this corner, the Oncidiums are doing really well, and I've got some spikes over here. This is my Dega Mawara Pinot Princess, and after not blooming last year, it has decided to just bring out this phenomenal spike. It's still growing from the tip there, and you can see the first flower is actually all the way down here. So that is just a massively impressive spike. It is going to be an extremely impressive show. I've got a surprise spike on my Shari baby, just one, which is strange because all the other growths are sort of mid-growth, so I don't know where that one came from, but I will take it. And I've got another little surprise spike down here on my Bamfieldara Gilded Tower, Mystic Maze. Or is it Mystic Maze Gilded Tower? Oh, I don't think I'll ever get that one right. Anyhow, it seems to be doing okay. The species flowers are really doing well, and if they're not growing a new leaf or roots, they're growing a new spike. Just noticed a new spike on my Violacea there. I absolutely love this plant. Those leaves are just getting bigger and bigger every year, but I don't notice any buds developing on that spike. Val Mario, no spike, but new little leaf coming through. This is exciting because I showed you Val Pultra when we put her out here, and I was hoping she might be approaching flowering size, but do you guys see what I see in those two leaf axils there? I do believe I have two spikes developing. This one is actually known to be a keiki maker, so hopefully they're not keikis, but they are in the perfect spot for spikes to emerge from. And of course we've got Bellina here developing a spike. Val Cornu Cervi Red was repotted along with the Psychopsis, and it was in bud, and it just seems to have not skipped a beat. That bud is developing, and we have a single flower at the moment. I absolutely adore these beautiful waxy flowers. Everything about them, the shape, the colour, I think they're beautiful and they're slightly fragrant. But the only thing is, it only brings out one bud from each flower spike at a time. So I'll just have like 2 flowers at a time. Last year it didn't bring out a new spike. I can't see signs of a new spike this year either, so these spikes are 2 years old now, and I'd really like to see a new flower spike develop on this one, so hopefully this year it'll start doing that, because this is just, well, I don't know, even though the individual flowers are beautiful, it just looks a bit silly to have 2 flowers on opposite sides of the plant like that. So I've just got a couple of things to show you in my upstairs grow space, but firstly I just wanted to get some advice if anyone has any on this Cata Sedum. So this is Cata Sedum tenebrosum. You can see it is flowering off an immature growth there. These buds are just delicious, they look beautiful. However, the rest of the plant looks terrible, and you can see the back 2 bulbs completely yellowing and shriveling up. I did drizzle some water through there last week. I can see if I dig through a little bit of root growth, but nothing coming towards the edges of the pot there yet. However, short of cutting off the flower spike, I'd like a little bit of advice on what you guys would do. Of course, if I have to cut the flower spike, I will, but it would just be so sad. Anyway, leave any tips in the comments section below. Next, though, we've got Oncidium Space Race Chanel, which is in full bloom at the moment. Gorgeous, cute little blooms on this one, and it smells floral with a hint of chocolate actually. Nothing as strong as the Shari baby. I did a little sort of experiment and tried to grow the spike around the stake, so it sort of circled it a little bit, and it kind of worked. I kind of like the look of it. This one will need repotting as soon as it finishes flowering, because it's just in a very small pot at the moment and it dries out way too quickly. At the back here we've got Dendrobium Little Green Apples, still in bloom at the moment. I've shown her to you way too many times, but I'll just give you one more look. Last of all, we've got this Oncidium just spiking its little heart out here, and I think we can be fairly certain now that it's definitely not a Nellie Isla, but it will be exciting to see how these flowers look, because that's going to be quite an amazing show. Downstairs we've got a lot of phals still in bloom, and we have seen them all, so I'm going to breeze past them a little bit. I just wanted to make a point about cutting old flower spikes though. I do see there's been a lot of discussion on Facebook about what the right thing is to do, and to be honest, I don't think that there is a right answer. I really think it's personal preference. There's just a couple of points I want to say about it, but I do have a few phals down here blooming off old spikes, like this one. This is an older spike, and the blooms definitely do not last as long as the new spikes, so I guess that's something to keep in mind. I really think it's personal preference, and I don't think it matters too much on a healthy plant whether you keep the spikes or not. The only real time I think it matters that you need to cut off the flower spikes is for the sake of the plant. Due to their complex hybridization, these phals are just made to bloom, and if you think that the plant is not healthy and does not have enough reserves or root system to support a spike, that's probably the time to try to redirect its energy into more vegetative growth. Otherwise, honestly, I don't think it matters too much. Things are looking a little bare in my phal grow space. Up here we've got phal Chin Shing Smile Kitty, and you can just about make out the little smiling kitty there. 2 eyes and little whiskers. I just love this phal, it's so cute. Kind of looks like one of those little flowers from Alice in Wonderland that could talk to you. And over here, I've just gotten around to repotting these 2 phals, which have been in their original sphagnum for ages. This phal here is a good example of a spike that is blooming just off a secondary spike. It didn't grow a new spike this year, and last year the flowers lasted, well over 3 months. This year, these blooms are only lasting about 3 to 4 weeks, which is a lot shorter than what is normal for this, so I truly believe that that is because it's coming off a secondary branch and not off a primary spike. Down here we've got Fausto Tiana still in bloom. I'm not looking to fade at all, and it's just beautiful. I really love how these bottom sepals have the freckles as well, and they kind of form like a bit of this V shape or arrowhead there. Super cute. And over here we've got Phal Equestris with a surprise spike there. It's a very small, flimsy looking spike, which can be quite normal for the seedlings, but be interested to see what happens there. Down here we've got Phal Profile Fragrance, which is in spike, but this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is Phal Soco Vivian. This is my variegated phal. It took forever to grow this spike. If you remember, it started leafing out, so it's actually got, leaves on this spike. But look at these blooms. This is incredibly disappointing. So you can see that the sepals are fused together, the petals didn't develop properly, but then look at the subsequent blooms. Like, what on earth is that? Completely mutated. So I'm not sure if that's the plant or, maybe it'll improve with future bloomings, but it is quite disappointing considering how long it took to grow this spike. I did read ages ago that sometimes when they try to produce this variegation, they use recessive genes, and so you're more likely maybe to get these sort of mutated flowers and stuff, so maybe that's what's going on as well. I have no idea. I'm going to keep it just because I do actually quite like the foliage for 1 more year, but if these blooms don't improve next year, then I don't think I want to keep this plant. On my back deck we've still got the epidendrums in bloom, but mostly just spikes out here to show you. The little Tolumnia here has brought out a secondary spike. This is a really cute Tolumnia. It's Tolumnia sniffin. Not so sure about the name, but very cute bloom. Down here we've got Toby chewing on something, but if you missed my Latoria video, then you might have missed these beautiful blooms. So I'll show them again because they're absolutely stunning. This is Dendrobium normanbiense crossed with Wandanishi spotted bird with an amazing patterning on it, and it's a Latoria type, just a really, really stunning flower. Get a little close up of it, but you can see that all the patterning is actually on the back of the petals and sepals, and inside it's like a creamy sort of colour, but the throat in there, so beautiful. The flowers do hang down a little bit, as do a lot of the Latoria types, but the view from above is really quite spectacular. Next to it we've got my Encyclical Tiara, which is finally in bloom as well. I've had it since it was a seedling, but a larger sort of seedling. It's got 1, 2, 3 spikes developing and something like 7 or 8 new growths starting, so I'm very, very excited for this one. If you guys don't know what the cochleata looks like, I'll put a little picture up, but it just looks like a little alien and super cute. I'm very excited. Here we've got Dendrobium Bohemian Rhapsody. You'll have to excuse Frankie and his funny noises, but clearly this is no longer in bloom. However, I did get some B-roll footage of the bloom, so I'll put them up now, but you can see that they were quite beautiful blooms running along the whole length of the old canes, and they still seem to even bloom on the damaged canes that I noticed and had fixed up with some splinting, but sadly the blooms only lasted about 5 or 6 days max, and yeah, that's I guess a little bit disappointing, but it is a feature of some of these seasonal dendrobiums. But now it's bringing out a few new growths and some very nice root growth happening there to dig into that new media, so I'm sure these will grow along quite nicely. I've got a couple of spikes to show you here. This is my Orchies Korak Koki cross with Bigness, and it's got a few pretty impressive looking spikes there. Oh my god, Frankie, you're so noisy, you're like a little piggy. I also wanted to show you my little discovery yesterday, but this is Ascophoenicia peaches. I've got 1, 2, I think that's a second spike developing there, and I did see a third spike here as well developing. So my Ascophoenicia peaches is going to bloom this year. Yay! And last of all here we've got Ascocenda Suk Sumrun Sunlight. So you can see a couple of buds blasted there on a really windy day we had recently, but the other buds seem to have pulled through okay. Very cute blooms. I really like this plant. She's so vigorous. This is like the 3rd time she's bloomed this year. And no fragrance, but with blooms this cute. Don't think fragrance is everything. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this Orchies in Bloom video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos. Hope you guys have a fantastic week and happy growing until I see you next time. Bye!